Let's show you now some of the big decisions taken by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in this cabinet reshuffle. The biggest winner today, make no mistake, was Nirmala Sitharaman. Nirmala Sitharaman has been given the crucial portfolio of defence, and she is by a long shot the day's biggest winner, for the reason that she's now entered the high table, the Cabinet Committee on Security, the one committee all ministers want to be a part of, from being Minister of State with independent charge for commerce and industry to gate crashing into the power club. Also, one of the day's big gainers, a man who the Prime Minister has trusted a lot, this time to fix the Indian railways, is Piyush Goyal. Unfortunately, his mother is unwell. She collapsed during the swearing-in ceremony at Rashtrapati Bhavan. She's currently at AIIMS. Piyush Goyal has been made Minister for Railways and Coal. Very crucial responsibility to try and fix the Indian railways. Amongst the other big winners today, Dharmendra Pradhan, and I hope to be joined by him in a short while from now. He was Petroleum Minister. He's now also the Skill Development Minister. So Rajiv Rudi's old portfolio coming now to Dharmendra Pradhan. Also amongst the big winners is Smriti Irani. She keeps her old portfolio as Textiles Minister. She's also been given the Information and Broadcasting Ministry. So, power statement for Smriti Irani as well. Her rehabilitation complete. She gets the crucial portfolio of INB as the election season gets set to hit this government. Also, Rajyavardhan Singh Rathore, who I hope will join us in a short while from now. Rajyavardhan Singh Rathore is the Minister for Sports and Youth Affairs. Many would argue this is a portfolio he should have had in the first instance. He's Minister of State with independent charge. He continues to stay on as Minister of State for Information and Broadcasting under Smriti Irani. Another big gainer, Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi. He too will be joining us in a short while from now. He was Minister of State for Minority Affairs. Now he is a full-rank Cabinet Minister. Then there is Nitin Gadkari. Nitin Gadkari was Road Shipping Minister. He's now got additional portfolio of Ganga and water resources. So as we kickstart this broadcast, several ministers will be joining us over the next 3 hours. I want to show you what the biggest victor of the day. Nirmala Sitharaman, India's first full-time woman defence minister. Remember, Indira Gandhi was the first woman to become defence minister, but she was also Prime Minister at that time. For a sole occupant at South Block, Nirmala Sitharaman is the first woman defence minister of India. And here she is in conversation with India Today's Kamaljeet Sandhu.
With me now is one of the most powerful women in India. We have with us the newest Defence Minister, Nirmala Sitharaman. Congratulations, ma'am. A lot of expectations with you. It's a huge responsibility. What is going through your mind? You've not taken charge yet, but remember, there is this threat from Pakistan, from China at this point of time, an important juncture when you're taking charge.
Well, yes, it is a very important portfolio, and it might be a big challenge to fill in the shoes of Shri Arun Jaitley, who is a very experienced lawyer, a very clear head, and he's taken very many decisions. Probably many of the blueprints have already been laid by him. But Prime Minister, my party president, all of them vesting this kind of a trust in me has overwhelmed me. I feel humbled. But it's too early for me to even comment on anything because I've not taken charge as yet.
There's been a huge debate about women in combat, and now you're leading the armed forces, nearly 12 lakh force. How do you really feel about issues like that? This is still a newer issue as far as the armed forces. It's been pending for 10, 12 years now, contemplating whether women are fit enough, are combat ready yet. How do you feel about issues like that?
Well, I know these are matters which have been in discussion for quite some time, and women are again and again proving themselves in various areas, various segments of our society. But as regards the decision which has to be taken in the ministry, I will enter in there with an open mind, see what has got to be done, and then take a call. But it will not be fair for me to comment now.
Ma'am, we're talking about another senior colleague, Sushma Swaraj. Many said she is the one who actually brought you into the BJP fold, and now both of you are in the CCS, which is obviously very important. So are you looking at some sort of role model? Do you see a role model in her? Do you see Sushma Swaraj playing a bigger role? And obviously because she also deals with issues of foreign ministry, which is obviously dealing with Pakistan and China also.
Absolutely. She's one of the very senior leaders of the party, has been an inspiration for very many women in my party. All of us have been motivated by her, and to be in her company in the Cabinet Committee in Security is a very big matter, and I will draw inspiration from her.
Ma'am, they're talking about parity when we're talking about men and women, and here you leading the force, and it's mostly male-dominated force. Is there something that you've already thought about in your mind, or you think you will need some time to study and prepare and basically have a roadmap for the armed forces? And obviously there's been talk about not just border building, it's about strengthening of the armed forces. What is the current thinking right now?
Right now, I'm still, yet to make my mind up, because even like you all did, only a few hours ago, I got to know about my portfolio. I've had a briefing from Arun Jaitley ji. Well, it will take a few, I would think, days, weeks for me to settle into the ministry and then think about the issues which have to be discussed and taken care of.
One final question, and that is that Narendra Modi has handpicked 2 women to be in CCS. We know there are other women ministers also. But do you think he's silenced by this particular move itself? From commerce to obviously the most important portfolio of Ministry of Defence, he's silenced his critics. And do you think it's about women empowerment in the real sense?
Truly, he has definitely always shown that he picks up on every opportunity to empower women. So this could also be one of them. And I'm very grateful that the party also has shown itself as clearly equally interested in empowering women. And that is something which BJP has always been credited with. Now it's proven it.
Ma'am, wishing you all the best, the newest defense minister and a woman, and she's obviously a woman on top and a woman who will be leading the country and obviously the defense itself. With camera person Ritesh, this is Kamaljeet Sandhu in Delhi for India Today.
Nirmala Sitharaman, what a power statement this is, and also given that critics continuously crib that the BJP and the RSS are patriarchal, don't give women enough importance. 2 women on the most important committee of them all, the Cabinet Committee on Security. Joining us also for perspective on this broadcast, my colleague and India Today magazine's editorial director for publishing, Raj Chingappa, Jaiveer Shirgil of the Congress Party also with us. Raj, what's the message the Prime Minister has sent out by picking Nirmala Sitharaman as India's new defense minister?
Well, it's certainly women power to the fore, as you've been saying. But I think, in terms of options, this is clearly one of the most important portfolios is there. He sends a message right across the forces and to women across India and the world about it. More important as well, importantly as well, is that Nirmala brings with her a lot of experience in dealing with international affairs, particularly when she was Commerce Minister. And if you look at the defense, what the tasks are required for the new defense minister is essentially negotiating a lot of deals that is pending.
Of all the options on the table, why do you think she got picked?
Well, who else would you have given it? Suresh Prabhu was a choice that he could have made. We don't know the internal discussions that's there. But I think he chose her because, one, she's worked very closely with Mr. Jaitley, and that's very important because Jaitley is a power by himself and has handled the defense ministry, has understood the ins and outs. So she's worked with him in the when commerce and industry as well, when Mr. Jaitley held charge of that. So I think there is a kind of harmonious sort of linkage in that. But as I was mentioning, more important, if you look at it, there is the fighter aircraft deals that have to be negotiated. There is also, if you look at it, there's something like
R.K. Singh is joining us on this broadcast. R.K. Singh is the new Minister of State Independent Charge for Power and Renewable Energy. Mr. Singh, welcome to India Today. Heartiest congratulations. Is this a pleasant but unanticipated surprise for you?
Absolutely. I think, yes, it's a pleasant surprise. You put it succinctly.
Okay, what is it that you hope to do? You've come in place of the very dynamic, very successful Piyush Goyal. So you've come into power, you're an experienced bureaucrat. How do you think your days in bureaucracy will help you, just work your way around the power ministry, and what do you hope to be able to achieve?
I've handled challenges. I've been handling challenges for the past 39 years. Before I was Home Secretary, I was also Secretary of Defence Production. So during my tenure, I think the productivity of all the ordnance factories, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, all the defence industries, I made sure that it went up. Before that, I was Principal Secretary of Road Construction in Bihar, and in 3.5 years, I changed the face of the roads in the state. So I'm used to challenges. I've been used to challenges right throughout, and so this is a challenge which I'm quite sure that I'll succeed in.
There's also a message, Mr. Singh, in this cabinet reshuffle. The Prime Minister has chosen technocrats, people with bureaucratic backgrounds, such as yourself, such as Ambassador Hardeep Puri, such as Satyapal Singh. What's the message that's being sent out by picking people with more than 3 decades of experience in administration? And for somebody who hasn't been a minister, you've been made Minister of State with independent charge, which means you're your own boss in the power ministry now.
Yes, I think, he's looked around for people who can deliver, and he's picked people who can deliver. Basically, it's not a question of, whether you are a technocrat or politician. It's a question of whether you have the experience, you have the expertise, whether you have what it takes to deliver, and whether you have a record of delivering. And I think that's what he went by.
The one question that comes to my mind is, you've got experience in defense production, you've got experience as a Home Secretary. Would it have been better to deploy you somewhere in the internal security apparatus, because power is rather new to you? And it's not just about you. Even Hardeep Puri has such a long experience as a distinguished diplomat. He instead will now be working on urban matters, urban rejuvenation.
No,
is it better to deploy given expertise?
It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. You see, basically it's ultimately a question of management. If you have the management skills. When I was first posted as Principal Secretary of Road Construction, I had no knowledge about road construction. But in 3.5 years, I did what had not been done, right since independence. You ask anybody in Bihar, he'll tell you that. And so basically it's a question of management, whether you have the management skills or not. I mean, when I came to defense production, I had no experience of ordnance factories or Hindustan Aeronautics Limited or, Mazgaon Docks Limited. You make destroyers, you make aircraft carriers, you make submarines, you make tanks, you make everything. And I had no knowledge about that. But yet, during my period, I think the production of all the defense production units was higher than the previous decade, whatever. It's a question of management.
Okay, India Today magazine's editorial director Raj Chingappa has a question for you, Minister.
Thank you.
Mr. Singh, congratulations firstly.
Okay. Mr. Singh, he has a question for you, I said. Do you hear me, sir? I said Raj Chingappa has a question for you, sir.
Raj, I have to go. Okay, but I'll take this question.
Just two, three questions, sir. 2, 3 questions. I won't take too long.
I'll take this question.
Okay, please.
Yes, I'll take this question. Yes, Raj.
Firstly, congratulations to you. And what do you see as your first or second priority that you have to do on the power ministry? What is the 2 or 3 things you'd like to achieve in the remaining 2 years you have?
No, Raj, I'm taking charge tomorrow. Thereafter, I have asked the officers to give me presentations on the present status of the power situation in the country, in both ministries, MNRE as well as Energy. Now, our target of energizing every village which is unelectrified is well on its way to being completed, and that is something which I intend to complete within the given time frame. That is something which will be a target, that all electrified villages we will electrify within the given time frame. That is one. The second is, improving the quality of power. That is the second thing. The third, I believe that there are a large number of stressed assets. Power companies which took financing from banks and they've gone sick, etc. And I think distribution, again, I'll need to get briefed before I set my targets. But prima facie, I think these are a few things which I would look at. I will also look at, the feeders, independent feeders for agriculture, power supply for agricultural irrigation. These are things which I'll look at, but let me first...
I have one thing to say, Minister, as you leave.
And then we'll, fix our
the one thing
priorities.
I want to say in conclusion, Mr. R.K. Singh, as you leave, is that when you made some of the comments that you did at the time of the Bihar elections, people in the party were upset. The fact that you've been made minister shows that, this perception that people have that if you say anything negative, you'll be held against that. It shows that merit is what matters. If you've got experience, if you've got ability, then you can get an opportunity to be part of Team Modi. And I think that's a very significant message being sent today, that a man with huge amounts of administrative experience across different kinds of ministries has been brought in and given the very crucial portfolio of power. So we wish you all the very best. Mr. R.K. Singh, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you have a successful innings as the new power minister. That's R.K. Singh. He's beaming, and with good reason. He's the new power minister, and I think, Raj, this is important because he was quite scathing in his criticism, and when we spoke to him earlier, he also wasn't necessarily expecting this call. But they've let that be. They wanted technocrats, they wanted to bring in people with administrative experience, and they've given the man a second shot, despite the fact that he said certain things which didn't go down well with the party high command.
And I think that's a very mature approach. And the other point you made about the fact that technocrats are not given the areas of specialization. You asked whether, why wasn't Mr. R.K. Singh given defense or home? I would like to differ with that in the sense that there is a tendency when you've run as a bureaucrat, ministries, say a particular ministry, you tend to second guess your bureaucrats. So you might have, say, Hardeep Singh Puri, you could ask, why wasn't he given foreign affairs? I think sometimes what you're looking for is across the board competence. You bring in someone new, he comes with a fresh new thought rather than saying, when I was a bureaucrat, I did this, this and that, and now that should be followed. So I think you're getting a break from the past, so you can argue both ways. It could be great to have someone with technical competence in doing it.
We've just received word that Rahul Gandhi has landed in India. Jaivir Shirgil of the Congress is with us. Rahul Gandhi just landing. He'll be off again very soon for a 2-week break to the United States. He's going to the University of Berkeley. He'll be addressing students and fellows over there. And look at the contrast, Jaivir. On the one side, you've got the Prime Minister and Amit Shah moving relentlessly. They've got 2019 in mind, whereas the Congress, which should be focusing on Gujarat, should be focusing on Karnataka. There's trouble in Himachal, there's trouble in Bihar. And Rahul will be taking off again. He's just come back from Norway and he's going to be off again soon.
First thing first, I think on behalf of Indian National Congress, we would like to congratulate all the new ministers, and we sincerely hope they uphold the values in the Constitution. Now you made a pertinent point. In the end, it's all about productivity. More than the cabinet shake-up, it is imperative that the government wakes up and start delivering on their poll promises. You can question Mr. Gandhi, but this window dressing, what does it yield? Today, the economy is in bad shape. We have the poison of...
people will say, compared to what? And when they compare with someone who's spending time in Norway, in the United States, whereas Amit Shah, on the other hand, I know on good authority, has declined dozens of invitations to travel abroad. He says, Sangathan ke kaam se dur leke jata, koi fayda nahi hai. That's one person's approach, and he's up against a man who seems quite comfortable in Norway, now going off for 2 weeks to the US as we head election season in Gujarat.
Rahul, being a youngster is the side you want to choose. Whether I want to be in Mr. Amit Shah's camp, who is created atmosphere of fear, joblessness, unemployment, shutting down of factories, a tanking economy, the blunder of demonetization, or Mr. Rahul Gandhi, who is productively engaging with people in Norway and making a point in Berkeley. He does his duties. Number 3, since morning, everybody is lauding Mr. Amit Shah, Mr. Modi. If accountability and performance would have been the criteria behind this rejig, then the Prime Minister should have resigned. He has failed on all his promises, including demonetization. Number two, you look at the example of Mr. Prabhu. Railway Minister, the biggest administrative failure, he gets another plum posting. You look at the Agriculture Minister, not change. There's a petition in Supreme Court, high rising farmer suicides. He remains unchanged.
We'll ask some of these questions to Suresh Prabhu when he's with us on our show in a short while from now.